Alright, you beautiful market astronauts, strap in and tighten that seatbelt because today we are diving deep, and I mean Mariana Trench deep, into the Vedic astrological analysis of RNDR token in 2026. Yes, this is the third coin from my previous video about the 5 cryptocurrencies with explosive potential in 2026. And today we are going absolutely full throttle. Before we go any further, this is for reference and educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Astrological cycles describe probability structures and energetic tendencies, not guarantees. Crypto markets are volatile, risk management is mandatory, and no one should invest money they cannot afford to lose. Now that we have grounded ourselves, let's launch. RNDR token, accurately called RNDR token and formerly associated with the RNDR ticker, represents decentralized GPU rendering infrastructure. From a Vedic astrology perspective, this project resonates strongly with Mercury energy, computation, networks, transmission of data, and intelligent processing. It also carries Venusian undertones because rendering is directly tied to visual creation, digital art, media, and aesthetic output. When Mercury and Venus combine harmoniously under expansionary Jupiter influence, the probability of technological acceleration paired with capital attraction increases dramatically. Now let's move into 2026. In Vedic astrology, 2026 carries an overarching expansion signature due to Jupiter's strengthening influence across innovation sectors. Jupiter governs growth, amplification, institutional blessing, and large-scale capital movement. When Jupiter supports Mercury-ruled sectors, technology and data infrastructures tend to experience exponential visibility and funding cycles. RNDR token sits directly in that archetypal lane. January 2026 begins under a residual consolidation pattern from late 2025. Mercury-influenced assets often require mental digestion cycles before expansion. Astrologically, this reflects a transitional Mercury phase, where volatility is present but directional conviction is not yet established. During this phase, price action may feel compressed, building internal pressure. This compression is not weakness. It is accumulation under informational ambiguity. February 2026 sees the first notable energetic acceleration. Mars begins interacting dynamically with Mercury-aligned sectors. Mars introduces ignition, competition, and aggressive positioning. In practical market behavior, this corresponds to sharp upside impulses. However, Mars energy is impulsive and unsustained. We can expect a fast spike followed by retracement. This is not the peak. This is ignition. March 2026 carries increased Mercury clarity. If Jupiter maintains supportive geometry during this period, RNDR token may enter a structured uptrend phase. This is where capital rotation into AI infrastructure becomes visible. The market narrative could shift toward GPU scarcity, decentralized compute demand, or AI workload expansion. Astrologically, Mercury gains articulation under Jupiter's blessing. This is where trend confidence strengthens. April 2026 becomes highly sensitive. Venus influence increases around media and digital art narratives. If Venus aligns positively with Jupiter, speculative appetite expands. This could create the first major intermediate high. However, Venus-driven rallies are emotional. If Venus receives tension from Saturn, we may see euphoria followed by sharp correction. This month is a volatility amplifier. May 2026 introduces Saturn stabilizing pressure. Saturn represents reality checks, structural integrity, and sustainability. If RNDR token has overextended during March and April, May deliver a corrective wave. This correction is not catastrophic unless Jupiter simultaneously weakens. If Jupiter remains strong, this pullback becomes constructive, forming a higher-low structure. June 2026 becomes one of the most critical months of the year. Jupiter and Mercury harmonization potential increases. This is where explosive expansion probability rises significantly. If Mars re-enters constructive alignment, the ignition energy combines with expansion energy. This is the first true candidate for a powerful breakout phase. Volume expansion, narrative dominance, and vertical price acceleration could occur here. July 2026 may carry the first major high of the year. If Jupiter is strong and Saturn does not obstruct, this could mark a multi-month peak. However, when markets accelerate vertically under Mars plus Jupiter influence, exhaustion risk follows quickly. A blow-off top scenario is possible here. August 2026 is high risk. Mars volatility combined with potential Venus sensitivity can produce sharp retracements. If July produced a euphoric spike, August may produce the deepest correction of the year. This correction could retrace 30 to 50% from local highs depending on macro conditions. Astrologically, this would reflect tension between expansion and structural correction. September 2026 brings analytical recalibration. Mercury regains strength and communication clarity improves. If the August correction was constructive rather than destructive, September may begin rebuilding trend structure. Institutional narratives could reappear. October 2026 carries a second expansion window. Jupiter's influence may reassert dominance. If earlier corrections built a strong base, October could produce a secondary rally, possibly challenging or slightly exceeding July highs. However, this second rally would likely carry lower relative momentum. November 2026 introduces late cycle caution. Saturn energy strengthens toward year-end in many macro cycles. If overextension has occurred, November may produce distribution behavior. This is where smart capital quietly rotates out while retail enthusiasm lingers. December 2026 becomes highly dependent on cumulative yearly structure. If Jupiter remains supportive and no major macro disruptions occur, Render token could close the year significantly higher than it began. If Saturn pressure dominates, December may reflect consolidation rather than continuation. Now let's talk numbers. Under strong Jupiter-Mercury harmony and favorable macro liquidity, Render token carries the potential for a 3x to 6x expansion from its 2025 base. In extreme speculative alignment, particularly if AI infrastructure demand narrative intensifies globally, upside extensions toward 7x are not impossible. However, volatility bands of 40% to 60% retracements must be considered normal within the cycle. The primary risk windows appear around May correction potential and August high volatility retracement. The strongest upside acceleration window appears between June and July, with a secondary expansion opportunity in October. All of this rests on Vedic archetypal interpretation of planetary energies interacting with technology-aligned sectors. Markets are influenced by liquidity, regulation, macroeconomics, and unpredictable catalysts. Astrology maps probability waves, not certainties. Risk management is survival, position sizing is strategy, emotional discipline is power. And remember, in the next video, we are moving on to number 4 out of the 5 explosive potential coins of 2026. Yes, my complicated love-hate relationship coin, XRP. That one deserves its own deep dive because the astrological structure around legal resolution and institutional blessing is a story in itself. But for today, Render token has officially been dissected down to its energetic DNA. If you made it this far, you are not just watching crypto content. You are studying cycles. You are studying probability. You are studying rhythm. And rhythm is everything. Alright, market adventurers. Go hydrate. Go stretch. Do not mortgage your house for a candle wick. And I will see you in the next deep dive. Stay sharp. Stay weird. And let the cosmos do its thing.